Good evening. Today is Monday, June the 12th, and this is the Cabarrus County Board of Education business meeting. I'd like to call this meeting to order. Before we get started, I'd like to have our opening ceremony, and the presentation of colors will be by the Air Force Unit JROTC cadets, and I'll read their names after the presentation of colors. And the national anthem will be presented by the Cox Mill High School Band Ensemble. Please stand with me. You may be seated. Thank you very much. Great job. As I noted earlier, the presentation of the colors was the combined unit of the Air Force JROTC cadets. The cadets consisted of Cadet Chief Master Sergeant Kelly Rumbo Hernandez from Central Cabarrus High School, Cadet Captain Zachary Korf from J.M. Robinson High School, Cadet Captain Trinity Ramos from Mount Pleasant High School, Cadet Senior Airman Tristan Freeberg, Northwest Cabarrus High School. These cadets were instructed by the Central Cabarrus High School Master Sergeant Terry McCabe and Lieutenant Colonel Nelson English, Mount Pleasant High School Master Sergeant Kevin McLaughlin, and Lieutenant Colonel Malcolm Schnell. The Northwest Cabarrus High School is commanded by Master Sergeant Corinne Smith and Lieutenant Colonel Calvin Martin, and J.M. Robinson High School by Master Sergeant Wayne Outram and Lieutenant Colonel Scott Rose. The national anthem was presented by the Cox Mill High School Band Ensemble, and they are directed by Mr. Joe Earp. Let's give them a really resounding applause. And before we set the agenda, I'd like to introduce Louis Burgess, our School Resource Officer. He's here visiting us from Harris Road Middle School, and he's maintained a great presence out there all year long, and we were appreciative of your work. Thank you, sir. Also, now we'll move to adopting the agenda. Board members, is there a motion to adopt the agenda as written?
So moved.
All right. I have a move by Ms. Furtenbaugh and seconded by Mr. Harrison. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of approving the agenda as written, say aye. 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 Opposed, say nay. All right, that motion carries 7-0, and that carries us into our recognitions. Our first recognition is our Cabarrus County Schools Teacher of the Year, Ms. Glenda Jones, and she'll be at the podium talking with us. Thank you.
All right. Good evening. Emily Francis, the Cabarrus County Schools 2016-17 Teacher of the Year, began her journey to becoming an English as a second language teacher when she moved to the United States from Guatemala at the age of 15. She began her career with Cabarrus County Schools in 2004, hired as a teacher assistant. This experience, combined with her personal experience moving to the United States, inspired her to become an ESL educator. Since 2004, Emily attended the University of North Carolina at Charlotte and completed her Bachelor of Arts degree in Spanish, a graduate certificate in teaching ESL, I might get emotional, as well as the Master's of Arts in teaching ESL. In 2012, she began her teaching career at W.M. Irvin Elementary, where her dreams of becoming a teacher became a reality. In addition to teaching, Emily facilitates professional development, holds quarterly meetings with parents, serves as a mentor and cooperating teacher, and serves as a liaison and advocate for her students and their families. Through the Miriam and Robert Hayes Charitable Trust, Emily will be traveling to Germany June the 16th through June the 26th with several other educators throughout, that's Indy, not emotion, not crying there, with several other educators throughout North Carolina with the Center for International Understanding. This experience will allow Emily an opportunity to learn more about Germany's history, culture, and education system, as well as explore global challenges and develop potential partnerships with other schools. Tina Platek, the 2016-17 Teacher of the Year from J.M. Robinson High School, will be traveling with Emily as well. This evening, we would like to thank Emily Francis for serving as the teacher representative on the Cabarrus County Board of Education for the 2016-17 school year. Emily's service to Cabarrus County Schools is invaluable, and we thank Emily for her commitment to education and the students of Cabarrus County Schools. So, Emily, I'm going to ask that you come down out of your seat to the front. We want to present Emily with just a small token of our appreciation. and then just celebrate her. Thank you, Emily, for your service to Cabarrus County Schools. Now, Emily will be passing that baton after tonight's meeting, and that will be going to our 2017-18 Cabarrus County Schools Teacher of the Year, Miss Paige Norris. And Paige, I'm going to ask that you come forward. And you can bring your family with you if you need some support up here. Paige Norris is a kindergarten teacher at Rocky River Elementary School, and she was named the 2017-18 Cabarrus County Schools Teacher of the Year in a ceremony on Tuesday, May the 2nd at the Cabarrus Arts Council, Davis Theater. Paige began her teaching career with CCS in 2006 as a language facilitator in the Oral Deaf program. This experience, combined with her passion for children and education, inspired her to become an elementary school teacher. In 2011, Paige fulfilled her dream of becoming a kindergarten teacher and began her teaching career at Pitt School Road Elementary School. In 2014, Paige transferred to Rocky River Elementary School. Paige has a Bachelor of Arts in Psychology from UNC Chapel Hill, as well as a graduate certificate in elementary education from UNC Charlotte. In addition to her leadership in the classroom, Paige serves as a mentor for graduate students at UNC Charlotte, the school improvement team representative for kindergarten, the grade level chair for kindergarten, and the professional development leader and co-leader in several areas at both the school and county levels. Paige always puts her students first, and her love and dedication to her students is remarkable. She touches the lives of all the children she encounters and makes a lasting impact on each and every one. In the words of a kindergartner, Mrs. Norris is a great teacher because she is nice, helpful, kind, and helps our brains get bigger. If we leave her, we will be sad. We would like to congratulate Paige Norris, our 2017-18 Cabarrus County Schools Teacher of the Year. Paige will be serving as the teacher representative on the Cabarrus County Board of Education for the 2017-18 school year, effective with our July meeting. So let's give Paige a round of applause and let her go through the line.
All right, that brings us to 4.2, which is our Hilbish Ford Teacher of the Month. Dr. Chris Lauder and Ms. Glenda Jones will be making the presentation.
I don't believe Mr. Vaughn's present. Is that correct, Ron? Okay. Good evening, Mr. Chairman and board members. Tonight we will recognize and celebrate our final Hilbish Ford Teacher of the Month for the 2016-17 school year. We are sincerely grateful to Tim Vaughn and Hilbish Ford for their unwavering support of our school system and for creating this wonderful program to recognize and honor our teachers. On behalf of our staff and students, we say thank you, and thank you. Now it is my pleasure to present our Hilbish Ford Teacher of the Month for June, Mrs. Cortina Jennings. Mrs. Jennings, would you, your family, and any members of your school's administrative team who are here tonight please come forward? All right, are we situated? All right. Ms. Jennings is a math teacher at Northwest Cabarrus High School. Are we there now?
No.
Are you good, Mike? Okay. All right, Mrs. Jennings is a math teacher at Northwest Cabarrus High School. She was nominated for this month's award by a parent. In her nomination, she wrote, "Mrs. Jennings has been an amazing influence and educator for my son this year. As a fellow educator in this county for the past 23 years, I have crossed paths with many wonderful educators, but I have been thoroughly impressed with Mrs. Jennings' patience and personal sacrifices for my son, who has a visual impairment. In such a short time, she has been able to make an individual who had absolutely no confidence in himself or his math abilities and totally instill an amazing confidence in himself and his math abilities. She has also inspired him with a desire to challenge himself, and in turn, he works hard not to let Mrs. Jennings down." The parent continued by saying she has stayed after school many afternoons to provide tutoring, as well as remaining available to her students during the evenings and weekends to provide explanations, reassurance, and help answer any other questions that may arise. She also provides clear, precise communication with all of her parents weekly about homework, any upcoming events, and her weekly expectations. She is a valid member of the Cabarrus County Schools and an amazing educator who encourages each student to do their best and has never allowed them to use their weaknesses or disabilities as an excuse. Mrs. Jennings, thank you for challenging and inspiring your students. We congratulate you, and now we'd like for Dr. Louder to present you with the Hilbish Award. And then we want you to allow the board members to congratulate after Mike gets a good
Take
picture.
a picture with you and Dr. Louder right next to you.
And turn your thing around there. Turn it this way. There you go.
On three. 1, 2, 3. I have it.
All right.
Mr. John Bassilise is coming forward, and he's going to present the Outstanding Community Partner.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen of the board. It's my extreme honor and pleasure to present this award tonight to the members of the Cabarrus Health Alliance for their partnership and program with us in Cabarrus County Schools. I'm going to ask that group to come forward, if you would. It's a large group, so it'll take them just a second. Okay. Thank you all. Can I get you all to kind of stand on that arch area? Great, thank you. Thank you. I'll do my best.
So while he's talking, I'm just going to come along and get your pictures.
Okay, and I'm going to ask him to step forward when to get the picture taken, if that's all right.
Oh, that would be
Great.
better.
Thank you. All right, great, thank you. Henry Ford famously said, "If everyone is moving forward together, then success takes care of itself." In our shared work with the Cabarrus Health Alliance, the well-being of the children of Cabarrus County is the measure of our success. We are proud to work in partnership with Cabarrus Health Alliance across the many programs represented here tonight. So as I call your names, please step forward. First, the school nurse program. Kim Reagan is the school health program and school engagement director. The Health Alliance employs all of the public school nurses for Cabarrus County Schools and has a long-standing successful partnership with Cabarrus County Schools. Next, the portable dental health program. Janie Woody is the dental director, and Dr. Patrick Burns is the portable dental program dentist. The dental health program provides on-site preventive and restorative dental services to all Cabarrus County schools. A 2-chair portable clinic allows students to receive care with minimal time missed from their educational day, as well as decreased time away from work for parents. Next, North Carolina Active Routes to School, the arts program. George Berger. George serves as program manager for the Active Routes to Schools program. The North Carolina Active Routes to Schools program partners with kindergarten through eighth grade schools to encourage students to walk or to roll to and from school, as well as supporting schools and their walk at school programs. These efforts increase the physical activity of students, which benefits both the health and in-school performance of students involved. The following schools have worked with the arts program: Beverly Hills, R. Brown McAllister, Carl Furr, Coltrane Webb, Rocky River, and C.C. Griffin. Next is the TRAIL program. TRAIL stands for Taking Responsible Action in Life. Megan Shuping is the TRAIL program manager. The TRAIL project works with select schools to provide a holistic approach to teen pregnancy prevention. TRAIL uses an asset-building approach to encourage 8th and 9th grade students to make positive decisions that result in healthier outcomes and brighter futures. The REACH program. REACH, Alicia McDaniel is the program manager for REACH. REACH is the Racial and Ethnic Approaches to Community Health project funded by the CDC. It focuses on reducing health disparities among African American and Hispanic residents of Cabarrus County. REACH partnered with 4 Cabarrus County elementary schools to establish or enhance their school gardens in an effort to make fresh fruits and vegetables more accessible to school-age children. The gardens have increased student knowledge, attitudes, and behaviors related to fresh food consumption, and supplemental garden activities have been designed to align with the North Carolina standards and childhood development. Next is the Triple P program, represented by Barbara Shepard. Barbara is the program director for Triple P. The Triple P parenting program is an evidence-based program that uses parent-centered approaches that provides parenting support to families. A variety of disciplines in Cabarrus County schools have been specifically trained to work towards common community goals to reduce out-of-home placements, child maltreatment, and emergency department visits. Next is the STARS program. The STARS program is students taking a right stand. Rolanda Patrick is a STARS program manager. Cabarrus STARS is a male youth leadership and violence prevention program aimed at creating healthy, positive school community. STARS has worked with 100 middle and high school males attending Concord High, Concord Middle, and the Cabarrus County Opportunity School since February of 2015 until the present. Next is Project More, making opportunities for responsible parenting and education, adolescent parenting program. Kelly Bryant is a program coordinator for Project More. This is a program that supports students who are pregnant and parenting. Project More partners with Cabarrus County Schools support staff to provide intensive case management, resource referrals, and home visits to prevent repeat pregnancies and encourage school completion for teen parents. Next is Cabarrus Chef Challenge and Staff Wellness. Greg Stewart is official community health guru at CHA. He led the physical activity component of the Cabarrus County Schools Leadership Academy this year. He is also a coach for the Cabarrus Chef Challenges, where Cabarrus County Schools go head-to-head in preparing healthy recipes similar to the famous chop shows on TV. And finally, Healthy Cabarrus. Marcella Beam is the executive director for Healthy Cabarrus. Healthy Cabarrus organizes task forces based on identified community needs. Cabarrus County Schools staff have an active voice in each task force. There are substance abuse, mental health, and obesity task force. Thank you. So Mr. James Mack is the Cabarrus Health Alliance board chairman, and Dr. William Fred Pilkington is the public health director. I proudly present this award to them on behalf of Cabarrus County Schools.
Just you guys.
Did I say Fred Pilkington's name? Yes, Dr. Pilkington.
Just want to make sure he's in there.
Great, thank you.
That nice tie, though.
Thank you for making this more awkward. Okay, great. Okay, so let's see. I'd invite you all to shake the hands of the board, if you would, just as students did.
All right, Dr. Robert Kirk's up there to present the North Carolina Association for Scholastic Activities Awards.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, distinguished board members, Superintendent, Dr. Louder. The North Carolina Association of Scholastic Activities, NCASA, is a 501c3 nonprofit school association that promotes academic excellence and success of North Carolina students through scholastic competition. With us tonight to recognize two of our own is Mr. Leon Pfeiffer, to my left, to your right, Executive Director of NCASA. Mr. Pfeiffer.
So thank you for having me here today. NCASA, again, is the school association of 286 member schools that supports, promotes, and presents scholastic activities in North Carolina. One of the things that we do is recognize outstanding individuals for their contributions to scholastic activities each year. We recognize both of these individuals at our annual meeting, but wanted to also recognize them here at their home district. This student contacted NCASA in February to inquire about her school's status as an NCASA member school. She participated in the Quill, the state writing competition, last year as a middle school student and hoped to compete again this year. Last year she was a J and Free state champion in her event, and she led her team to a state title. When told her school was not a member, this student was not deterred. She worked with the school administration and staff, which led to the school joining NCASA as a member school and starting a team for the Quill. This is the first time that we know of that a student led the drive for a school to join NCASA. Not only was she instrumental in creating this team, but she finished second in her event at regionals and led her team to a second place finish and qualification for the state finals. At the state competition, Concord High School finished in third place, and teammate Charlotte Alcon was the state champion in creative writing. Her dedication created opportunities for herself and others at her school that would not have happened without her efforts and leadership. So I'd like to recognize Krithika Senthiel as the NCASA High School Student of the Year for 2017. So Krithika is not here today. She's away at camp, but here to accept on her behalf is her principal and her mother.
She, I'm sure, looks just like.
She does, actually, yes.
I have it.
Our second nominee, and this is from his nomination, is a huge supporter of arts education. As a former band director, he understood the time commitment directors put into their programs and the hard work of our students. He has supported us in every decision we've made regarding new directions, the show choir, and has never missed a performance in 3 years. He's traveled to regionals and states, often giving up family time to be there with us. He is regularly at rehearsals giving advice on staging, music, and design, and is always available to help with any questions. After performances, he is one of the first to come up and congratulate the group on a great run. Our members are sometimes shocked and extremely excited to see the principal there just to see them. Oftentimes, art programs are not recognized for their hard work and time. This is not the case at HRMS. Our show choir has been recognized at pep rallies, on special school-wide announcements, and even at the Cabarrus County School Board meeting. All of this because of his unwavering support. There is not a better administrator, and we would not be as successful as we are without him. So with that, we'd like to recognize Tripp Aldridge as the NCASA 2017 Principal of the Year.
now have Mr. Brian Tyson in front of us, and he's going to be talking about the NCHSAA Commissioners Cup winners.
Good evening, board members. Yes, I'm here to recognize the High School Athletic Association's Commissioners Cup winners this year. We have two from Cabarrus County. That is the Mount Pleasant Awesome Club and the Cox Mill Volleyball team. Only 8 teams across the state are recognized as Commissioner Cup winners. And proud to say that Cabarrus County has 2 of those 8 winners. There's only 2 winners in each of the 4 classifications. And this is an award that goes to outstanding efforts outside the community, off the playing court and out in the community. And these folks have done some tremendous things in raising funds for organizations. So I would Cox Mill's volleyball team could not attend tonight. They are at a volleyball camp trying to get ready to defend their 3A state title. But we do have with us the Mount Pleasant Awesome Club, which is for athletes who share unselfish moments, and I'd like to call them up front, please. And with us tonight representing the Awesome Club from Mount Pleasant High School is Kylie Redmond, Alicia Hall, Grant Harris, Brandon Smith, Olivia Smiley, Emily Yates, and Ashley Pethel as a co-advisor. Mike Landers is also a co-advisor and was unable to attend tonight. He is in Tampa for AP exam scoring. So we'll miss Mike for that. This is the 3rd year in a row this group has won the Commissioner's Cup. That's just an outstanding effort in the community, and they need to be applauded and recognized for their efforts. I'm going to give you a few little tidbits here on what they've done, and we're going to play a real short video on these folks and on Cox Mill. But these guys conducted a youth football camp where they raised $2,600 in donations to a family that lost a son and a local family who lost a father unexpectedly. They conducted a King of the Court volleyball tournament with our other schools and raised over $15,000 toward breast cancer and the Vicki Honeycutt Foundation. They donated $1,250 to the Lumberton High School for hurricane relief efforts. They've collected, wrapped, donated, and read books to local elementary students as part of Read Across America Day. They've donated to the Mount Pleasant Food Ministry, and they've donated to JDRF. Cox Mill High School also had an outstanding effort as well for the volleyball team, and their community project was Childhood Cancer Awareness with their theme, Be Bold for Gold. And they had a volleyball match with Hickory Ridge High School this year, and their fundraising efforts raised over $1,000 for that effort. So congratulations to you folks, and I think, Michael, you're going to load us up on the video real short. I think you will enjoy this.
Hi, I'm Matthew McDonald, and welcome to News 17 Carolina. Today in sports, we have the Mount Pleasant High School Awesome Club dominating the field in community service with a little bit of American spirit.
Thanks, Matthew. This is Owen Pruitt, and during the off-season, the student-athletes' work did not stop. They were in the 4th of July parade and were recognized by the Independent Tribune for their volunteering at the May NASCAR races in Charlotte. Next up was football season. What says America better than football? The Awesome Club hosted a youth football camp called the Tiger Tough Camp. In addition, they raised $2,600 for a family in the community that had a son pass away, as well as a large amount of money for another family whose father passed away unexpectedly.
I want to tell you thank you to all of the Mount Pleasant community and everyone around who has donated to the Awesome Club for the Reese family. We do appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you, Owen. Some of the larger highlights from this year included a continuation of the annual King of the Court fundraiser where they raised over $15,000 to donate to a local breast health center and to the Vicki S. Honeycutt Foundation. They also made a donation of $1,250 to the Lumberton High School to aid in hurricane relief efforts.
We appreciate the Mount Pleasant Awesome Club for doing this for us, and the need is great. We use the funds in ways that we can directly to the kids. So what you're doing as the Awesome Club is a great need for our students.
As the middle of the season was approaching, they collected, wrapped, donated, and read books to a local elementary school as a part of a Read Across America Day. To top that off was going to be difficult, but they delivered by donating $500 to the Mount Pleasant Friends of the Library.
Thank you, Harrison. To end the season, students volunteered at the Mount Pleasant Springerhead Sprint and donated $250 to the Mount Pleasant Food Ministry. Students also raised money for JDRF and attended the walk.
Join us next week on News 17 Carolina.
And we have a short one for Cox Mill High School too.
Athletes.
Food.
Share.
We were beyond honored and humbled to receive support from the Awesome Club, also out of Mount Pleasant High School, and could not be more inspired and happy to see the next generation of leaders doing their part to make society a better place.
Moments.
I think everybody sees a lot of the great things that are done in our community, and we'd like to thank you folks for doing that again, and we'll look forward to seeing you next year as a four-time winner. So if you guys will shake the board members' hands, we thank you for all your efforts. I will also recognize the state champions for this spring, 2017. We had two state champion winners in track. I know one could not be here, but Gabriel Steinbach, I don't know if he made it. Okay, he did not make it either. I think the beach might have won out over coming to a board meeting again. Never quite understood that, why you'd want to miss a board meeting. But we'll recognize them anyway. Gabriel Steinbach from Concord High School, recent graduate, was a 3A state champion in the high jump, winning with a 6'6" jump. It was his first outdoor track and field championship, as he's a three-time winner indoor track and field. He also placed third in the state in long jump, and he will continue his track and field career at High Point University next year. The other state champion was Jamin Glenn from Hickory Ridge High School, recent graduate, 3A state champion in the triple jump with a winning jump of 48 feet, 6.25 inches, which was a personal record as well as a school record. He also helped his team to a second place finish in the 4x200 relay. Thank you very much.
Dr. Roth is coming up to present the Middle School Science Awards.
Good evening, School Board Chair, School Board members, and Dr. Louder. Good evening, School Board Chairs, School Board members, and Dr. Louder. At this time, I'd like to recognize middle school students who have excelled in science competitions at the state level. We have 3 students who have won individual awards and 1 group state level award. First, I'd like to recognize a student who placed first place in the category of biology at the state science fair. I'd like to ask Neha Balakrishnan from J.N. Fries Middle School to come forward. For placing first in the state forensics competition for extemporaneous speaking, I'd like to ask Aditya Synthol from J.N. Freese Magnet School to come forward. The next student was the North Carolina Academy of Science Award in Chemistry Award winner, Akhilesh Sivaramakrishnan from J.N. Freese Magnet School. I'd like to ask you to come forward. Then from J.N. Freese, we also had 15 students who participated in the Geographic Information Systems, GIS, competition sponsored by the 4-H, the North Carolina Service Learning Coalition, and ESRI. Each of these groups of students designed a question about Cabarrus County that they wanted to answer. They used the GIS software to investigate their question and create a presentation detailing their findings. The questions they chose to investigate were, is soil quality related to poverty? Are crime rates reduced by streetlights? Which is the safest type of intersection? All 15 students were state winners, and one group will be going to the national competition. So we'd like to ask these students to come forward. Alicia McClary, Simran Chinawala, Campbell Depkin, Athena Coons, Matthew Futch, Alexis Hatley, Atharva Kripak, Aditya Synthol, Ishan Patel, John Luke, Garrison Bullock, Coleman Carter, Pryor Sparks, Spencer Ball, and Kian Winkler. We'd like to congratulate all of these students. Thank you, and if you would shake the hands.
All right, Mr. Parker's coming up to talk about career and technical education, the Workkeys Awards.
Good evening. We had two students that got platinum certificates this year. Is Elijah Dwight Gordon here and Brittany Elizabeth Mast? Come forward, please. As they're coming forward, I'll tell you a little bit about Workkeys. The National Career Readiness Certificate is a credential based on an individual's performance on 3 Workkeys skills assessments. The 3 assessments are applied mathematics, reading for information, and locating information. These assessments help employers select, hire, train, develop, and retain a quality workforce by measuring foundational skills as well as soft skills. The National Career Readiness Certificate is a portable credential earned by more than 3 million people across the United States. The North Carolina Board of Education also includes Workkeys assessments as part of the state's accountability model. Students who take the Workkeys assessment receive scores of bronze, silver, platinum, and gold. A platinum level certificate is the highest score possible. This year, 2 students from Cabarrus County Schools achieved a platinum level score on the Workkeys assessment. They got the highest that you could possibly get, so congratulations to both of you. Elijah Dwight Gordon and Brittany Elizabeth Mast. I got your certificates here for you.
All right, Mr. Ben Allred and Ms. Holly Niedermeyer are going to hand out the Cabarrus County Schools Band Honors and Awards. Oh, wait a minute. Dr. Roth, you're here. I'm sorry.
I just jumped in there. I'm going to first recognize some middle school band programs and directors that have excelled at the superior level this year. The first school that I'd like to recognize, I do not believe that they are here, but is under the leadership and direction of Renee White. We'd like to recognize the C.C. Griffin MPA Band for their superior rating at the South Central District Music Performance Adjudication. So when I read your name, if your group would just step forward. Under the leadership and direction of Andrew and Molly Blair, we would like to recognize the Harris Road Band for their superior rating at MPA and the Carowinds Festival of Music. Harris Road's Honor Band for their superior rating at Concert Band MPA. Harris Road's Intermediate Band for their superior rating at the Carowinds Festival of Music. Harris Road's Advanced Band for their superior rating and first place, highest overall instrumental at the Music in the Parks at Six Flags Over Georgia. And Harris Road's Percussion Ensemble for their superior rating and first place at the Music in the Parks at Six Flags Over Georgia. Under the leadership and direction of Jason Partridge, we would like to recognize Jay and Free's 8th grade band and for their first place, superior rating at the Festival Invitational Music Festival, and for their superior rating at the Middle School MPA. Under the leadership and direction of Keith Grush, we would like to recognize the Mount Pleasant Middle School Concert Band for their superior rating at the Band MPA. Under the leadership and direction of Alice Aldridge, we would like to recognize the Northwest Cabarrus Middle School 8th grade band for their superior rating at the North Carolina Bandmasters Association Concert Band Music Performance Adjudication. Congratulations to all of our middle school bands. Thank you. Congratulations. What are you laughing at?
I don't know. All right, switching over to high school, I'm going to ask Ms. Boone if she'll go ahead and escort our high school folks in. Okay. All right, we'll begin. Under the leadership and direction of Tyler Stark, we would like to recognize the Central Cabarrus High School Symphonic Band for their superior rating at the Music Performance Adjudication. And if you'll step forward when I call that, so we'll see. Thank you so much. Under the leadership and direction of Ed Harper, we would like to recognize the Concord High School Symphonic Band for their superior rating at the NC Bandmasters Association South Central District Concert Band Music Performance Adjudication. It's a long title. Under the leadership and direction of Joseph Earp, we would like to recognize the Cox Mill High School Spirit of Cox Mill Concert Band for their superior rating at MPA. Under the leadership and direction of Chris White, we would like to recognize the Hickory Ridge High School Concert Band and Wind Ensemble for their superior rating at the High School Concert Band MPA. We would also like to recognize Hickory Ridge Ridges Jazz Band under the direction and leadership of Chris Wright and Sam Bogan for their superior rating at the NC Jazz Band MPA, and Hickory Ridges Jazz Ensemble for their superior rating at the UNCC Jazz Band Festival. Under the leadership and direction of Drew Carter, we would like to recognize the J.M. Robinson Symphonic Band for their superior grade 6 rating at MPA. The comedic duo. Under the leadership and direction of Bart Tolbert, we would like to recognize the Mount Pleasant High School Concert Band for their superior rating in grade 3 music, and the Mount Pleasant Symphonic Band for their superior rating in grade 6 music at the NC Music Performance Assessment. Under the leadership and direction of Chris Hardesty, is that how you pronounce that? Is that correct? We would like to recognize the Northwest Cabarrus High School Symphonic Winds for their superior rating at the Music Performance Adjudication. And we have one individual recognition. Under the leadership and direction of Chris White, we would like to recognize Robert Lanier, a student at Hickory Ridge High School, for his placement in the All-State Band at the NC All-State Honor Band Competition. Thank you for all of you. Congratulations.
All right, we have Mr. Whitaker up here to talk to us about the Transportation Department.
Good evening, board members. Tonight I'm going to present 2 awards to you. First, we have the Cabarrus County School Bus Rodeo Champion. This person competes with other local drivers for their technical driving skills, such as backing, parking, and diminishing clearance. The competition is judged and scored by the North Carolina Department of Motor Vehicles. This person has not only won our local championship many times, but it also has recently taken 2nd place at the state level. Mr. Chairman, members of the board, please help me congratulate Mr. Boyce Chapman. Second award for tonight will be the School Bus Driver of the Year Award. This person is selected for her compassion and concern for her students on her bus. She is proactive in making recommendations for her bus route for safety purposes. When faced with extremely cold temperatures, she took money out of her own pocket to purchase blankets to ensure her students were warm enough. Her attendance record is excellent, and her communication skills are superb. These characteristics led her to the nomination and being selected as the School Bus Driver of the Year. Mr. Chairman, members of the board, I present Ms. Kenda Lambert.
Dale Jr. couldn't be here.
Yeah, Dale Jr. couldn't be here.
All right, just warm you. All right.
Charlotte Business Journal Energy Leadership Award. Ms. Lynn Reimer is going to present that award for us.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Would Ms. Jones please come to the front? Ms. Bridget Jones received the Education Leaders of the Year Award from the Charlotte Business Journal program. She received this award at the 2017 Energy Incorporated on May 12th. Ms. Jones was nominated for this award for working to establish the first K-12 science, technology, engineering, and math, or STEM magnet program in the state of North Carolina. Ms. Jones was heavily involved in the CCS, receiving the Inspire grant in 2013 for $3 million to create a STEM pipeline. The project was so successful that Cabarrus County Schools received a second grant for $3 million to continue and expand the work that Ms. Jones led with STEM education. Bridget Jones started as a calculus teacher at Central Cabarrus High School in 2009, and I had the opportunity to ask her to move into our STEM coordinator role to develop the district's first STEM high school. Ms. Jones was instrumental in the success of developing, hiring, and creating what we think is the best STEM high school in the state of North Carolina. Ms. Jones then moved into a district-level position to manage the Inspire grant and continued to build and empower teachers and students in the field of STEM education. She has successfully brought businesses on board and built relationships with community partners that provides real-world experiences for teachers and students. Ms. Jones is a visionary with the ability to lead and grow all around her. Thank you, Ms. Jones, for all your work with STEM education and for all you have done for the students and staff and district. I can't think of anyone more deserving of this award than you. Congratulations.
Ms. Roth is going to present Dr. Roth is going to present the North Carolina Earth Science Teacher of the Year Award.
At this time, I'd like to ask Annette Bartlett and her principal to please come forward. I would like to recognize Mrs. Bartlett as the North Carolina Earth Science Teacher of the Year, and also being named for the U.S. Southeastern Region Earth Science Teacher of the Year. Ms. Bartlett is also the current Teacher of the Year at Harris Road Middle School. She teaches 7th and 8th grade science and is a blended reach teacher for earth and environmental science. We really appreciate her dedication to the sciences and her work at Harris Road Middle School. Congratulations.
Dr. Louder is at the podium to present the Finance Department's awards.
If we could ask Ms. Klutz to please come forward. This time it's my privilege to present 2 certificates of achievement to Ms. Klutz in the Finance Department here at Cabarrus County Schools. The first is a Certificate of Achievement for Excellence in Financial Reporting. It is presented by the Government Finance Officers Association. It's the highest form of recognition in governmental accounting and financial reporting. Its attainment represents a significant accomplishment by a government and its management. It is presented for the 2016 fiscal year end, and this is the 6th consecutive year that Ms. Klutz and her department have earned this award. The second award is the Excellence in Management of State Public School Fund. It's presented by the North Carolina State Board of Education and the Department of Public Instruction. It indicates error-free reporting, and she will receive her certificate for this in July at the conference. So we just want to say how much we appreciate her and her department and the great job they do for us and the taxpayers of Cabarrus County.
All right, we come to the approval of the minutes, and we have 3 sets of minutes. We have the minutes from April the 28th, our quarterly meeting. We have minutes from May the 1st, work session, and the May the 8th business meeting. Is there a motion to approve these minutes as they are written? All right. Mr. Furr makes the motion. Ms. Furtenbaugh seconds it. All right, all in favor of approving the minutes as written, say aye. Aye. Opposed, say nay. All right, these minutes have been approved, 7-0. Thank you. All right, this carries us into board chair comments, and before I get too far along, I'd like to make a quick presentation to our teacher. Our former teacher of the year. He's going to go, I see his name. I'll now pass it over to Dr. Louder and let him tell us what's going on. Yes, sir.
Point of privilege.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
I guess we just, this past weekend, were able to congratulate over 2,300 graduates. I think it's close to a record. But to do that, I mean, that takes an arena staff a heck of a lot of work. It takes our law enforcement, it takes parking, it takes teachers, school staff, county office staff, translators, medical staff, sound and visual people. And I just want to express our appreciation for such a well-run graduation this past weekend.
Thank you, Dr. Walter, thank you for your doctoral thesis on the, yes, the graduations were excellent, and every school was very well represented, and all the graduates were engaged, even when we grabbed their hands. So we were just so happy to have each one of them. And we heard several different renditions, lots of renditions of the Star Spangled Banner, and lots of wonderful music. It was a great weekend. So if you didn't get to come to a graduation, you missed out. So thank you very much. Pardon?
They're on the website.
Yeah, and they are on the website. We have YouTubes of everyone. So, Dr. Louder?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just want to reiterate congratulations to the class of 2017. We did celebrate this milestone with 2,300 graduates this weekend. We do want to say a special thank to the staff at the Cabarrus Arena and our staff, Mr. Allred and Dr. Kirk, and the people who were responsible, Tricia Malmet, who really did a lot of the groundwork. I'm sure I just left somebody out, so I hate to do that, but we had a lot of people that were working on that. It was a great event for all those schools, and we appreciate it. On a personal note, I just want to say my daughter graduated, and she had a K-12 education in Cabarrus County Schools, and we couldn't be more proud of the education that we received. So on a personal note, we want to thank everyone that was a part of her education here in Cabarrus County. I also want to congratulate our new retirees. We celebrated their contributions to our district with a special program on June the 1st. 86 members of the CCS family retired. We appreciate their years of service and dedication to our district, and we wish them well. I want to thank everyone for a great school year. We certainly have had a lot to be proud of in Cabarrus County Schools. All the recognitions that we had tonight certainly show a lot of the great things going on in so many areas in Cabarrus County Schools. We're already looking ahead to next school year. Preparations are underway to welcome students on August 28th. Tomorrow we will begin the curriculum crew with teachers from all over our district start beginning curriculum maps and working on things to prepare us for next school year. Our maintenance staff will be preparing buildings and grounds as we complete Mount Pleasant Middle School and have that ready to go when school starts. We'll also be participating in professional development sessions and learning new skills, refining old ones, and addressing all the growth in Cabarrus County. Finally, we want to wish everyone a safe and relaxing summer break before we come back in August. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Louder. All right, Ms. Reimer is coming to the podium, and we'll be hearing the presentation from Davis Demographics for student forecasts and build-out study.
Good evening again, sir. As the board is aware, we have contracted with Davis Demographics, a company that is going to help us forecast our student growth as well as plan for the future. Tonight we have Mr. Adon Navarrete with us.
Thank you. You pronounced that
from Davis Demographics, who is going to go through a report, basically just a small presentation, an overview of what you saw a little bit of this weekend in the larger group. So I'm going to help work the computer while he kind of shares with you the work they've done and how we're going to move forward, okay?
Good evening. Good evening, board. Good evening, Mr. Louder. Been a while. Lynn, thank you. Appreciate it very much. We're going to begin with a little video of identify who Davis Demographics is. If you can go ahead. If you can scroll down to the bottom. That one right there. Thank you.
Can you make that big mark?
The United States is experiencing patterns of migration, birth rates, and immigration not seen before. These trends are playing out differently in regions of the country, with some regions experiencing student enrollment booms, while others are busting. Many school districts around the United States are responding to these challenges with the help of Davis Demographics.
It's critical that we know what characteristics the student has with them. Are they a special needs student? Are they an English learner? Are they a student in poverty? Are they a foster youth student? Because our funding now varies widely from district to district, school to school, based on those characteristics.
At Davis Demographics, we try to make the job of every school planner easier in one of three different ways. We provide consulting services, where we're able to do presentations to the board and bring our findings from our reports to them to help school districts make decisions. It all starts with clean, accurate geographic information, which is the basis for all of this work that we do for our school districts. And then we also provide software tools to allow them to do their own analysis. So those three areas, consulting, software, and clean, accurate data, really is the fundamental part of the company.
We have used other services in the past, and the downside was that we couldn't take the knowledge internally and use it. We had to always outsource it, so we never gained anything by it.
Using the data, using the software, the community being able to see what schools they have, what school locators, there were just tons of upsides to using Davis Demographics.
One of the things that I like about using Davis Demographics is the fact that their staff is almost like an extension of our staff. They've been around a long time, we know them very well, they know our district. As opposed to buying a software program that my staff has to work on and has to try and stay up to speed with, we're able to use them as an extension of staff, and they're able to provide us the information that we need and customize it for what we want.
School site desktop software is great because it allows me to really dig into the demographics and information that we have about our students, and I can take data and put it into a really easy to read, easy to understand format.
Well, I'm in this business because when I was a little kid, I wanted to be a teacher. When I found Davis Demographics, I discovered not only can I help affect the kids, I can help affect and change and help out school districts. If a school district's having problems with their student enrollment, they need to call Davis Demographics. We're here to help.
Thank you. And I did see that the actual Cabarrus County does have a GIS program within the actual school system. You know, GIS people like us is very, we look forward to that. We are a Esri business partner. Actually, our extension is based off of the Esri program. So it not only can the actual students begin to learn the GIS, but they can actually start seeing the fruits of their actual studies. So with that completed, we're going to go through the scope of work of what the actual Cabarrus County we did for this particular project. We created a customized data set for the district. We incorporated all the area local development, whether it was under construction, active, or even in planning phase. Okay, so if it was part of the jurisdiction that Cabarrus County Schools incorporates, we actually contacted the planning departments and grabbed that information. We analyzed the relevant area demographic data. We took 4 years of your historical students as well as this school year. We gave it geography. We developed, from those files, we actually developed a 10-year resident student forecast. So that's what we're going to actually go through. So what we did is we received from the school district 4 files, the last 4 historic student files of the Cabarrus County schools. And we gave them geography. So these points represent an actual students, whether it was 2013, 14, 15, as well as 16. And along with that come the attributes that the actual student file incorporates. What we did is we split up your local attendance areas into specific study areas. So a group of study areas will actually make up your attendance zones, whether it's elementary, middle, or high school zones. With that, we were able to generate what we call the attendance matrices for elementary, middle, and high. This is kind of works as a check and balances of what the intra-district and intra-district transfers are doing and at specific sites. So the first thing that we actually look at is how many resident students are living within the actual area, and then where they're actually enrolled. Are they transferring out, or who's transferring in? So we actually get that information as well, and actually we can see if there's a type of capacity issue in regards to those policies, intra-district and intra-district policies. And we have one for each set. For the magnet, what we do have is the enrollment, correct. I think it's the following page of that elementary. Our methodology, well, there are 3 factors that we actually calculate from the student files. We calculate the birth data. So that birth information is actually applied to kindergartens only. That way we can get a trend or an idea of how many students you're going to be expecting in the next couple of years. We also calculate the mobility factors. These are your survival cohorts, your mobility. How many students are actually staying within their attendance area and actually possibly be moving out. So we actually get that survival cohort to focus on the areas where no development is happening. Okay. So student files, student yield factors, I'm sorry, those are applied to the proposed or development units that will be coming online in the next 10 years. So we actually, from the information that we gathered from each planning department, we actually took that into account and try to figure out and get a good idea of the housing market within the Cabarrus County School District. From the K class, we actually can, here is the market share for your K class. So we researched the births through the county of Cabarrus County, through what's reported to the state, the last since 2008, and we projected out the last 10 years. Okay, so you can actually see how many children are being born and how many actually showing up at kindergarten. So 5 years later, whether they're showing up. So we can get a trend and an idea of how many kindergarten students we're going to be expecting the next years. The mobility factors, as we mentioned earlier, it's the survival cohort. So are the students actually being retained year after year, the last 4 years? So we calculated one for a set for each school. So you can actually see that on page 16 of the report. On this particular example, we only have 2, which is School A, School B. So we can actually see progressively how those grades have maintained their students. Okay, and of course, every different school area generates different, so it'll be changing constantly. Student yield factors, how they're calculated is for each individual type of unit. SFD meaning single family detached, condominiums, townhomes, multifamily homes, and of course apartments. So what we do is we go out and we sample through the assessor file, Cabarrus County assessor file, and we query those residential units that are zoned as residential. So we calculate a yield factor for each individual grade configuration. So we actually see how many students will be generated from the proposed and or planned development projects that are currently happening within the...
How different is that from what the county does?
The last time I believe we got the report, it was 10-year-old. Yes. So we actually did that, and we provided that information to Cabarrus County.
Okay, so the county is using 10-year-old data?
Correct.
And you've given them new data?
Correct. Yes. They were actually able to look at this. So out of 100 units, the example of K5 single-family detached, you're looking at 22 K5 students being generated from a particular project. This particular example is the district-wide, but we did break it down into regions, and regions incorporated certain schools because different regions are going to be doing different things. Mount Pleasant, it's a little bit rural versus Harrisburg and the Northwest. The residential development projects that we tracked, this is a little example of what we did. I was out here back in March, I believe, early March. Both Joe and I actually went out because I wanted to give a lay of the land and actually how many units were we going to be expecting, and did we actually have that particular phasing correct. So I did come out. We visited quite a number of, I think we spent 2 days traveling particular projects that I could not contact developers or get any type of phasing information on, but we did cover the majority of these. Okay. So this is a snapshot of our particular software. Lynn and Joe do use this as an extension. Like I mentioned again, it's an extension of the Esri, and we can actually incorporate those study areas, those individual study areas that make up the elementary zone, and so we can come and produce projections for each individual attendance area. Here in this particular example is Whittington, so we can actually see how by grade and grade configuration, we can actually see those 10-year projections lay out.
So that's using the GIS stuff that we already have in-house?
We revised it. That is correct. We revised it.
So it's an add-on to that? Is that what?
Yes, yes. Here is the district-wide 10-year projection. This is total enrollment once I actually include your out-of-district students as well as any students that I could not I could not reconcile. Might have been a student that was under protective services, so we couldn't generate that particular point. So we actually can see that in, I believe it's school year 2024, we're going to see a peak based off of these projections of 38, 8, 11. Okay. The K5 is forecasted to peak at 38, 8, 11, which is also 2024.
I hate to keep interrupting you. Why a peak? What do you mean by peak?
That's when we're expecting the greatest amount based on these factors.
So that as of today, the developments today build out. Is that what you're saying?
It was a snapshot.
And that's assuming that there's no developments coming along after that. Is that what that is?
We would have to add any new development projects and include those and revise these projections.
It just seems odd that it would peak if you're continuing to have...
At this snapshot. At this snapshot, correct. All right, so here's this K5. At this snapshot saying that it would also peak at 2024, 16,204. K5. 6.8. We can start seeing, little difference here. To me, being a demographer, is we're seeing a bubble kind of come through into your middle school, so peaking at 2021. So that's where I see right now your bulk following through, and it's going to be impacting those middle schools. K-12, peaking also at just the same as the elementary at 13,531 in fall 2024. And in summary, we have the elementary increasing around 1,800 students over these 10-year projections. Okay, the middle schools, declining the next first 3 years, but then we actually see that peak. The high school's growing over 2,500 students over this 10-year time frame. So at this snapshot, what we see currently, all the taking into consideration all the units that we currently have. All right. We have Odell Primary as well as the elementary, Cox Mill, Boger, and Fur. As based on these projections, these are the schools that are going to be impacted the most, with Weinkauf and Royal Oaks and Contrain seeing a decline. Okay. For the middle schools, we see that Harris Road, Griffin are the middle schools that are going to be receiving the greatest number of impact and students, with Northwest Cabarrus, Hickory Ridge, Winkler, and Concord. those expecting moderate gains. And of course, we know Mount Pleasant being a little bit rural, we're going to see a little decrease there. With the high schools, we found that Cox Mill High School, Central Cabarrus, Hickory Ridge will be receiving the greatest growth there. Concord and Robinson Northeast will be experiencing a medium.
Questions?
All right, board members. Mr. Walter?
Have you looked at our 10-year plan that we had done a year ago?
I did not. I did not get a copy.
I wanted to see how that compared, what you came up with compared to what we had come up with.
The school district has. We've looked, and so we also shared that with our principals and with district staff to show where we were based on state projections, our projections, and DDPs. And so, it's definitely a range in between where our 10-year plan is here. DDP was a little higher than we were, and the state projections were a little lower. So we have definitely compared what we've got.
Go over the state projections one more time. Is that what you used?
So, yeah, we're over our
your
state.
teacher allocations. What do you?
So that would be a question for Ms. Jones when we talk about teacher allocations.
But the state projection. What is that? State projection.
Yes, state projection is what they tell us how many students we're going to have, and that's what they give us teachers for. Yes, and we are saying the district said my numbers were a little higher than the state's, and DDPs were a little higher than mine.
So in between graduations, Friday and Saturday, and we had your booklet, I was just flipping through and looking at maps, and one of the maps showed the middle schools, but there wasn't that I could tell, a breakout for J.N. Freeze, which is our STEM magnet middle school that has about 700 students. So I got on the soft copy version, I did a word search, and Mr. Harrison is not right this particular time, Ms. Carpenter. But J.N. Freeze has a reference or two in there, but I just didn't see much of a breakout of the J.N. Freeze population like the other middle schools. I'm sure it's blended in there somehow, but can you explain that for me?
The reason is because Freeze does not have an attendance boundary, and the only projections that we actually do is for an actual attendance boundary.
But
because it's a magnet.
But it's baked in somehow.
Yes, let me explain where it's baked in, because I can basically everything that they take from where students physically live. Okay, in those attendance matrices that you've seen, then for example, I may be a student that lives in C.C. Griffin's area, but I'm attending J.N. Freeze, and it would show up there because all the students prior to this year were magnet students. There were no attendants, so there were no students that lived in that area. Hence why you wouldn't see J.N. Freeze broken out by itself. Now, when we do this next year, J.N. Freeze now has a boundary. So when we redo it the next time, you will see J.N. Freeze broken out. So are the J.N. Freeze students mixed in with all this? Absolutely.
Yes.
And you can see those in the attendance matrices from which schools they lived in boundaries, and now they're attending J.N. Freeze.
Is this model, if I can put it that way, is this intended to measure or account for the charter school enrollment in Cabarrus County in any kind of way, or to address it or allude to the numbers, because we're still responsible for the funding that goes through us to the charters?
Correct. No, we do not. Reason being is we do not get that information from the actual charter school saying, well, these are the students coming from Cabarrus County schools. There's no information out there that we can actually decipher.
Okay. Thank you.
No problem.
Okay, but on the same topic of charter schools, if we look at slide 13, as the base year, just under 32,000 students, that is excluding the charter schools. So can we take a percentage moving forward? So for example, next year, does the 33,142 count pure Cabarrus County schools registrations anticipated?
Yes.
And does not include the growth that may register at charter schools?
Correct.
Okay.
And let me, for me, I'm going to dumb it down just a little bit. These guys are a little smart.
Get
so
technical.
for me, what I have to remember is that information that we gave DDP is strictly our student files, students that we have files on, and then he calculated birth rates for Cabarrus County. So the kindergarten classes is definitely a projection. But the rest, everything else you see, are students that are in Cabarrus County schools already. That's where he got those files from. So there would not be any file for the charter school student or the private school student, and therefore he would not be able to track those. But we can absolutely do.
So
Kelly Klutz on getting percentages of
so the growth rate over the years, the accuracy diminishes maybe 5% a year or something, from the standpoint of we'll be pretty close. We're only one grade off. We have new kindergartners for the next school year. The next year we have 2 new grades, and whatever the mix between charter and traditional public is. And so it would keep diminishing rolling forward unless we redo the numbers after every 1 or 2 years or whatever.
Yes.
Okay.
And it's not just that. This is a snapshot, and you've said that multiple times, at one point in time. And so since that snapshot, we now know, and I don't know exactly how many, Tim and Joe can probably help me, at least 2 or 3 more developments that have come on that were not there then that would also change some of these numbers. The other thing that I'll say is once we begin the redistricting process, the individual projections for each school obviously will change again. So this will be a continuous process, hence why we've asked to kind of hang on to these guys for a little bit.
And the good thing going along with that, those particular study areas, because they're neighborhood, we can actually take those and use as building blocks for the new board boundaries.
Mr. Powell?
I didn't see Wolf Meadow on here as well, and I know it has an attendance zone. What's the projection there?
It should be in there.
Wolf Meadow, page 47.
No, it's not on. It's in your. He doesn't have it.
Yeah. Oh, I apologize.
You have it. This is just a. This is just a overview. Here's the actual report. So it's most hard. You can take it on.
Mr. Walter?
So we're looking for a market share for all the grades to find out what the charter school take is. Is that what Cindy was implying?
My understanding of what Ms. Furtball was asking is, can we kind of predict what the growth is within the district of the number of students that we'll have that may be charter school or not charter school or private? And so we're working on that. It's not accurate necessarily. It's a guess, just like everything else.
But that market share thing kind of does the same thing
sure,
for us.
Absolutely.
Correct. I mean, it also takes into account, obviously, homeschools as well. But,
Ms. Carpenter?
Well, I mean, depends on if one opens or one doesn't. If one doesn't open, we won't usually lose any. We usually get some back. So it just depends on if one decides to open.
Yes, ma'am.
So I have some clarifications. On the resident students, you use that term resident students, and that is just strictly the students based on the birth rate of the county and those that are residing when you perform this analysis. So
Resident students are those students that reside within that particular attendance boundary. Okay. So now those study areas have all these factors calculated in. Okay.
All right.
Counts the birth rates are only for the kindergarten class.
Okay.
Okay. Then mobility factors, and if there's any development, those yield factors in that particular area will be applied to that.
And so then going back to a little bit of Mr. Walter's question about market share for kindergartners, you obviously don't go 100%, but you have some type of formula that you're using to move it up to close to 90%.
Correct. It's a linear trend that we actually try to calculate there.
Okay.
Accuracy, Davis demographic, your first 4 years are really solid. That 5, 6, 7, it starts getting a little, because they're not born yet.
Right.
So the first 4 years is what we actually get. We flip those over and we say these are the 4 years following the same trend. This is what we can expect.
Okay.
Okay. And everything after that, we use a linear trend on that. Okay.
And what was your build-out timing? Did you have some? Did you build out heavy at first and then kind of have a type of trending, almost like a parabolic curve of some sort, or?
Build out is when every parcel is zoned, whether residential, medium, high, medium, or low density. We took I took the assessor file and I calculated the type of unit as well as the total number of units that it can possibly have. Okay, so Cabarrus County, as we can see, especially in the Mount Pleasant area and Bogart, has a lot of vacant land. So there, I even dropped it down. I only used about 70% in order to what's the word I'm trying to account for infrastructure. Okay, so I even dropped it a little bit further. But build out is when everything is possibly zoned as residential, vacant. This is how many students that you can possibly have. Of course, it can change at any point in terms of when planning departments decide to rezone. That can constantly change, but at this snapshot, this is everything.
One of the interesting facts that I saw was that the apartments tended to have more students, and that's not been the case historically. So that was it looks like a shift in our trend.
Yes, I mean, I was in Oregon 2 weeks ago. I've been here in Carolina back in spring. In the winter, I'm doing Austin. This is what the trend is now, multifamily.
And we had a lot of multifamily coming into Cabarrus County.
If you can see it.
So your build-out factors on the multifamily are quicker than the single-family and the condominiums.
If that's that true factor, that's why that factor that we have, and especially when I gathered Harrisburg, Kannapolis, of course only a little bit of Kannapolis, but I took all their land use plans and I incorporated into the assessor file, and then that's how I generated those build-outs there. Okay, so everything that's zoned currently, zoned as residential, this is what it, of course, I think Midland sent us just a couple of weeks ago, they're updated. Mm-hmm. I had to go and look at everything again, which is why you guys kind of got this report at the end of May.
All right. You said this will be updated. When do you anticipate a refresh of this?
We will do it the 40th day each year. This data was the 40th day data, and we'll send them files again in the 40th school day. So that's September, October next year.
So they will actually get the data in December, or?
No. They'll get we'll send them as soon as we have our 40th day data, student files. We'll send that to them, and they'll begin updating.
Okay.
Yep.
Excellent. So then you should have this report refreshed by the beginning of 2018 in time for our tenure? Or?
My goal is January. Yes.
January, because usually we have a board retreat around the third week of January.
Yeah.
So I was just trying to see you. Thanks.
Yes.
All right. Any other questions, Mr. Powell?
In your presentation on the third page, I think, map of district student data, are those actual student addresses?
No, those are actual student points. So, of course, I used the parcel data and street data. So if this is one actual student within a particular street range. Okay, based off of that 40-day
so that's based on what the information that we gave you.
Correct.
About our students. Okay.
Yes.
And this is, it's kind of interesting to me that not long ago we as a board voted against allowing another board member access to this, but now I guess through this report we have access to it. But just interesting that we gave it to an outside firm, but we wouldn't give it to a board member.
Could I ask if you had to compare Cabarrus County and this data to some other county or region, can you give us 2 or 3 regions that we are similar to in demographic terms? And I know, and that's a huge question, and you only have 15 seconds to do it instead of the.
All right.
You could go on and on, I know.
Red Oak ISD, 30 miles away from Dallas, south of Dallas. Actually, my kids are part of this.
You're saying we're very similar to that?
Correct. When I look at it, it's a mirror image. They're north to south. They sit south of Dallas. When I came over here, it was mirror image.
How about locally or
I think we're beginning to work with Charlotte Mecklenburg, and I know they actually use our software as well.
Yeah,
their clients.
We're tracking parallel to them somehow.
We have not, since I've been on here, we have not done a study with them, but I know locally they do work with our software.
Okay. Any other counties or regions?
Just
who we're close to?
Yeah. Let's see who else. Fayetteville, Kentucky.
Okay.
I believe that's how it is, Fayetteville, Kentucky. They just did a whole new plan because they have a lot of development going on. It seems like that belt is attracting a lot of projects and growing. And they did some redistricting as well because they opened up a couple of schools. So I do.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Walter.
So what have you provided us? What comes back to us? The hard copy and electronic? Or
Actually,
the software for the GIS, or what are you providing to us?
What I give Joe is actual a geodatabase.
Okay.
With the study areas that were updated. All this GIS is property of
so
this.
our staff can work with that data.
Correct.
Is that what you're saying?
Correct.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
I'm also a GIS advocate. I think
There
it's
you
a
go.
great tool to use. So
Great. Yes,
I'd like
it
to
is.
see that too if we
Very
can be provided
informative.
with it. Thank you.
We're actually working right now with some couple of web maps to start putting it up online and publishing.
Now that's going to be important going forward.
Yeah.
All right. Board members, are there other questions? Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
All right, we've now come to the guest speakers address the board, and in accordance with Board Policy 2310 as revised by the board on May 11th, 2015, a part of each business meeting will be set aside for citizens to address the board. Sign-up cards will be available for any individual or group to indicate their desire to address the board. Speakers must hand a completed card to the board clerk no later than 6 p.m., the normal start time of the regularly scheduled monthly business meeting. And the board chair will decide the time devoted to public comments. Speakers must complete the contact information card, including their name, group name if applicable, the address and phone number, and list the general education-related topic of their presentation for the board minutes. Tonight I have two folks that would like to speak. Ms. Dorothea Huey will be our first speaker, and if she could come to the podium. She's going to be speaking on bullying.
You're going to cut me on. Thank you. To Board Chair, Mr. Shoemaker, to Vice Chair, Ms. Carpenter, to Dr. Lowry, Superintendent, to all the school board members. I came to you in October of 16, talking about bullying in schools. And I was talking about bullying because I thought my grandson was being bullied at school. And he was being bullied by a teacher. And I came and I asked for help. Well, I didn't give the name of the school or the teacher name. And I want to do that tonight because it escalated to unbearable conditions. I did not get not one phone call from the school board after I came. I'm so disappointed. The school was Beverly Hills Elementary School. And even though the school is a great school, I have two students, grandchildren there, not students, two grandchildren there, and they are siblings. One is 5, and she has an excellent teacher, okay, Miss Sears. But Austin is 10, and Austin had Miss Monroe. And we started with Miss Monroe in October, and how we got started was she told Austin that he wouldn't live to be an adult. And so he came home and said, Mama, why wouldn't I live to be an adult? And he was very upset, and we got upset.
If you could refrain from using names,
Well,
we
I've
would
already put it
appreciate
out there
that.
now because, see, I did this in October and I didn't get a response. So I thought, I'll
Right.
give the name this time, maybe I get a response. That's all I had to say about the names, okay? I can do that.
Thank you. Yes.
But Austin came home, and so the next morning, his mother and myself went to the school to talk to them about, this had to be a mistake. It has to be a mistake. He was 9. Well, it hasn't gotten any better. It's gotten to the point where his mother signed up for homeschooling. I still don't know if she's going to do homeschooling or not, but she does have all the credentials to do homeschooling. And the reason why I'm here tonight is I went to school 3 weeks ago, and Austin was, I don't live with Austin. They live in Concord, and I live in Charlotte. But Austin had lived with us all his life until they moved to Concord. My daughter loves Concord. I didn't have any problem with Concord, okay? So anyway, he calls me and he says, he calls me Mimi. He said, Mimi, I don't want to go to school anymore. Please tell my mommy don't make me go anymore. And so I went to school. I talked to the, oh gosh, I can't even tell you her name now. Anyway, I went and talked to the school counselor. And I said, I need some suggestions to just get him through in the grade testing.
Your time is run up. Can you just begin winding down?
I want some help. That's the only thing I'm here for. I wanted help. I don't know what else to do. What else do you do when you ask everybody else to help you and you still don't get any help? That's the only reason why I'm here tonight. I'm still wanting help. How do I keep this 10-year-old kid in school? I just would like for somebody to call me with some suggestion. It seems like the school just wants to get rid of him, and he's 10. So if you can help me, please help me.
Thank you, Ms. Day. Thank you, Ms. Huey. Our next speaker tonight will be Liam Shannon, and his discussion will be on special education.
Hello. Thank you so much for giving me the opportunity to come and speak tonight. So my name, as you said, is Liam Shannon. I'm here tonight with my wife Jennifer and our 1-year-old son at the back there. Jennifer and I are parents of 3 children in Cabarrus County Schools. Benjamin, who's just finished 3rd grade at Pitt School Road Elementary. Caleb, who's just finished 1st grade at Pitt School Road, and then Noah, who's just finished kindergarten at the Mary Frances Wall Centre. At Mary Frances Wall, he's had an incredible last 2 years with 2 teachers you should be aware of, Amanda Barrett and Meredith Lassiter, who have changed his life. Noah is autistic and non-verbal. And just give me a second, I'm going to give you my phone. I'm going to pass that down. I just want to give you all a face to associate with the name. And forgive me if I get a little choked up talking about him. During discussions about Noah's transition to elementary school, Jennifer and I were made aware of 2 possible options for him. Thankfully, he will be attending Harrisburg Elementary's Learning Connections classroom this upcoming year. And now I have a question for you. If Noah had been recommended to go to the AU classroom at Patriots Elementary, would he or would he not been in the care of a teacher who lost a special ed child who wandered onto a nearby building site and was returned to school by a builder, and who has locked special ed kids in closets in class? If anyone could give me a yes or no, I really appreciate that. And if you can't do it tonight, I'll be back here at your next meeting or the one after that to get an answer. No answers forthcoming tonight?
Well, there won't be an answer because this is just your time to talk to us. We would have to consult with our with our superintendent about this particular issue.
I would appreciate that, and thank you for the clarification, and I will, as I said, I'll come back to seek clarification on that, because as I started out by saying, as with many special needs kids, Noah is nonverbal. If anything happens to him, he's got no one to tell. No one. So when he goes to school, he is really, truly under care. And that needs to be taken seriously. So, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Shannon. All right, board members, that moves us on to the approval of our consent agenda. Before we get on to that, just a couple words to our speakers. We don't normally do anything actively in our board meeting when we have speakers. We listen to them, and then we act on it later on after we have a chance to discuss it amongst ourselves. So thank you both for coming out tonight. That now moves us to our consent agenda, the approval of the June 12th consent agenda. Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda as written? Mr. Harrison and Ms. Carpenter make the motions. All right, all in favor of approving the consent agenda as written, say aye. 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 Opposed, say nay. All right, so that motion carries 7-0. That carries us over to the action agenda. And our first one is the approval of supplements for the school team VEX Robotics.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion that we approve this. I'm going to add a little phrase at the end, after grant funding for the equipment. So the stipend is as a budget recurring item, but the way it reads, it almost sounds like the stipend is for the grant funding, is by way of grant funding too. So I just wanted to add that phrase at the end to say pending acquisition of grant funding for the equipment.
All right.
Yep,
you'll second that?
Yeah. Wait a minute. I'd like to add.
Oh, you want to add a,
yeah.
Well, okay. What would you like to amend?
Well, and as it says contingent on grant awards, and then somewhere to have in there, as long as we've got a grant, because I think we need to consider this, funding. Well, I know it's got that
pending the acquisition of a funding grant for the equipment. So if we don't get the acquisition, we don't get the grant, then we can't.
Well, that's saying like this time. I'm saying we need to make sure ongoing grants. In other words, we need to make sure that we have grants for this. It's not like once that's like it's a one-time deal. We need to make sure we have grants ongoing to keep that going. You follow what I'm saying?
Mr. Powell?
Yes, I think that's wrong. I think this is for one-time funding, and funding after that, there's lots of sources of funding that was discussed at the presentation by Coach Breezy, and then also at the work session, that this program is generally sustainable after the initial investment of the grant funding for equipment.
Yeah, Mr. Powell, did Dr. Hill say something about I believe that Dr. Hill said something about that the teams would then engage fundraising at the school level through whatever this grant would be to get all the programs started.
That's what I understood. Ms. Carpenter, do you want to say something?
Well, I just want to make sure we get ourselves into a bind every once in a while. We'll say that, and then it falls to the wayside, and then we're stuck with the money. Keep supplying the money over and over. And I just want to make sure that once we get started, that we're not left holding the bag.
Mr. Powell?
So I just want to make sure that the money's going to be forthcoming, and that we just don't keep throwing money out there. I know it's a good thing, but I want to make sure there's going to be money coming from other sources not just us putting money into it. So I want to make sure that there's money that we're making. We're saying, okay, we're going to do our part, but you got to do your part too. So I want something in there kind of stating that, to say, we'll do our part, but okay, guys, you got to do something too to keep this going. That it's not just us kicking in. And I'm sure that where we're getting our funding from too, that the commissioners would appreciate that too. To say, okay, we're saying, okay, business community or somebody else, you got to kick in some too.
Ms. Carpenter, we never got the motion. We need to get a second. But this motion, you're going to have their discussion. So, I'm sorry. Ms. Carpenter, we didn't get a second to this motion because we started discussion. Can we get a second for this motion, and then we can enter in our further
Well,
discussion?
you're going to have to amend that. I'd rather get something in there that they can do it.
Well, she said that she was going to second it based on amending it to some other. And
Carolyn, this is almost exactly like when a high school has a swimming team one year, and then the next year they do not have a swimming team. They do not have the expenses for that swimming team. Or if they do have the swimming team, then they have the responsibility at the school level to provide whatever uniform that they have a need for at that time. If a school decides not to do the robotics, then they don't have the expense outside of this grant money. So I think it's going to be okay. I think once the grant money comes in initially and there is a baseline of equipment purchased, the school is then responsible for doing some fundraising and to provide through PTA and any other funding source ongoing equipment, replacement, damaged equipment, that kind of thing, just like they would for any other sporting event at a high school or middle school, for example. So I think that the model has been proven through athletics that I think it's okay. This grant is just to kind of get them started.
My problem is, aren't those robotic things, aren't they real expensive though? I mean, those little robotic things, aren't those really expensive little pieces of equipment though, to put those little things together? I don't know, but I was thinking those little kits are kind of steep, aren't they? Aren't they? I mean, y'all tell me. I mean, I'm asking.
wait a minute. We still have not. Did you second Cindy's motion as written, or did you go and amend it?
No, I was trying to get an amendment to get it right first.
All right.
All right, now
we can talk about. Now we can have discussion, and I hear that you want to do an amendment to this motion that Ms.
Yeah, because I want to get something in there.
Thank you. Now you can continue.
Now I can talk about it. Okay.
You got 2 more
How
minutes.
how much are those little gizmos?
We would have to do some research on that.
We don't know the exact cost.
We do not know the exact cost.
All right, you act like you kind of knew how much those little gizmos were.
There you go.
So I can't give you specifics. I think that right now we have a myriad of different groups. So we have some at elementary, some at middle, some at high. Sometimes they're sponsored by different ones. I think I referenced last time some of our Education Foundation grants. If you look at how many of those, quite a few of those go to robotics. So it is definitely, I would say, the #1 request that people are asking for, and we're using money from all kinds of different pots. And because so many schools, I can't remember the number, I want to say 37 that they said they already had an advisor for. Yes. So many schools want to be a part of it. We said, let's figure out a way to make this something where there's a general pot and we can try to fund everybody. As has been stated before, there's going to be some varying ways that they raise money for that, but this is in effect a startup grant. So, I think it may even be called that. It's a startup grant, which is, we know it takes some money to get this going. We want to give this to you to help you go. But we already have a lot of schools spending money on it. They want to be able to kind of synthesize that, centralize that, and hopefully buy it cheaper because we're doing it in bulk. And because, again, a vast majority of our schools want to do it. So,
again, it's not going to solve every single problem, but I would say it's just like everything else. We're always searching for ways to fund that, and right now it's one of the number one things we fund anyway, so let's do that as efficiently as we can.
But you don't know how much the little...
I do not have a price list, but we do. I mean, it is something that's purchased. We can send it to you probably this week because, again, there's a couple different equipments. Another thing we want to do is try to say, if you do it in K3, you use this. If you do it in 4-6, use that, and then streamline it so even you can share things and use it as much as possible. But we can certainly email that to the board.
I would just like to say I really do appreciate Mr. Powell's explanation a moment ago. Mine will not come on. I apologize. But Mr. Powell's explanation helped me a great deal. I appreciate it.
How about this? Just could we put in there to be reviewed yearly? How about that?
It says contingent. Y'all know what contingent means?
Well, I know what contingent
on grant
means.
awards.
Okay,
as a
but
recurring budget item.
okay. Well, all right. Well, with that, could we say review? Well, I know it's contingent. I'll just make sure.
I would suggest don't put another annual review in there because that's just another report somebody has to create.
I mean, we're not going to pay anyone if there's no team. So.
Yeah.
Right, and when you look at the number of students that will benefit from this at all levels, and I expect that at the elementary level, the Kids Plus students could participate in after school. This will be after school, will it not? Or will this be during school?
Mr. Chair, I don't think we can commit Kids Plus to these programs.
Pardon?
It's up to the school. We don't need to get involved in that,
Okay.
but we can
But
get out of the weeds, Mr. Chairman.
Well, not trying to get into weeds, Mr. Powell. Just trying to espouse the benefit for all the kids. So, all right. So we have a motion by Ms. Furtenbaugh and a second by Mr. Furr, and the addition to the current amendment written on the is moved by Ms. Furtenbaugh, seconded by Mr. Furr, that the board approve the supplements in the amount of $500 for each school team VEX robotics coach as a recurring budget item, pending acquisition of grant funding for the equipment. All right, all in favor of this motion, say aye. Aye. Opposed, say nay. All right, that motion carries 7-0. All right, we have policy 2320 on the first reading. And Ms. Reimer's coming up with Ms. Burns. I think Ms. Burns is going to do the talking. So, board members, are there any questions with the open meetings law?
Move for approval, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Harrison. I have a motion to approve 2320 on the first reading. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Ms. Furtenbaugh takes the second on that. All right. Any discussion, Mr. Powell?
Yes, I think it's kind of ridiculous to only record the actions taken by the board instead of an abstract of relevant discussions and the decisions of the board during all official meetings. I think that was a perfect way of describing it, and I think that changing it removes an element of transparency from this board to those that are trying to find out what happened during the meeting by reading the minutes. I don't know why there is a need to change. Well, actually, I do know why. I think it's not a valid reason to change from the wording. It says minutes shall contain an abstract of relevant discussions and the decisions of the board during all official meetings. That seems very concise and accurate to me.
Ms. Carpenter?
Was this a change we just decided to make, or was this by the association? I wasn't here when this was done.
This was a board request.
Okay, that's why I was asking.
Which board member, I'm sorry, did we say which board member suggested or wanted this?
I did.
Was that you, Mr. Harrison?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. Mr. Walter?
I have to agree with Mr. Powell. I think having an abstract is an important thing. It does not need to be a verbatim transcript. It just needs to kind of summarize what the discussion item was. And I think that's helpful for most people that don't watch the the videos or any of that. Gives them an idea of what was discussed, not just board actions, because you really wouldn't know based on just a yes or no vote.
Now, and again, when this change was made, I was gone. I do have one question, and I do this at some point. And if this is put in, I want to ask if I can still do this. Sometimes I will say, for the record, I would like this put in. When sometimes I do a vote, and I will say I voted against. I will say I want this on the record, and I will say to the clerk, for the record, I did this because of this. If this is put in, will I not be able to do this?
From a technical reading of the policy, you would not be able to do that.
Okay. Well, if that's the case, then I cannot vote for this.
Okay. Other discussion? All right, board members, let's vote on the policy reading, the 2320 on the first reading. All in favor of changing the policy as highlighted before us, say aye. All against, say nay. Nay.
Nay.
All right, so that's a 5-2 to not change the policy on the first reading. So, board members, we need to give the policy committee some direction as to what your wishes are.
I move with
it's not 5-2. I mean, it's 2-5. Excuse me, I misstated.
I would make a motion that we put it back exactly like it is, because my understanding that this.
I second that.
Well, you can second it, and then let me tell
We
you.
just drop it.
Oh, okay.
We don't have to do anything.
Okay.
We just drop it.
All right, so there's no action taken on this, and it will just go back to
I remove my second.
All right. All right, so we've moved on to 9.3, policy 4150 on the first reading. And school assignment. Are there any comments on this before we get a motion?
Yeah, I think it's confusing. The more I read through it, you have assignment areas, you have homeschool areas. I think, and the more I think about this, I think it might make sense to have two separate policies, one that deals with just the school choice and transfers, and one actually is going to deal with the school assignment and the redistricting, especially that we have the redistricting coming up. I really think we need more detail than just a paragraph here on the top, a little bit in a sentence or two in B, and then there's a couple sentences down in F that talk about how we assign our homeschool districts. So I would like maybe the policy committee to consider that, coming up with a policy that just deals with.
Is this a PLS push policy?
I'll defer to Ms. Stone in just a second. However, we did have two policies, and because we wanted to be consistent moving forward with everything we were doing, policy committee did work with our attorneys on creating one. We were looking for comments from Mr. Walter this week on maybe what was confusing or what we could change. So I know Ms. Stone did a lot of work on writing this, so she can speak a little bit to it.
Sure, this was a request from staff to try to really streamline the process. This policy had not been really thoroughly updated since your now school choice programs had grown as much and have become formalized, but it's almost as if they're becoming formal. It's almost every year the process is created and the programs have been tweaked, and so there was a desire from the staff that implement these policies and deal with the transfer requests and things like that to have some clarified language. So what we did is, as we looked at, and as you'll see, I guess it was on the consent agenda, 4154, thank you. We tried to bring everything on school assignment, whether it's a choice program or, you know, your traditional homeschool assignment, under one policy, and leave the school choice continuation as sort of a separate, like once you're in the choice program, how do you stay in the choice program? So we divided that out and put all in one policy, everything about basically how do I figure out what school I go to? And that was really the intent of the policy committee, was to draft a single policy so that it was, okay, how do I know what school I go to? If I want to go to a different school, be it a choice program or be it through a transfer request, how does that happen? And so that was the intent here. And we did look at a number of policies from similar districts, particularly some of the larger districts that have been through the growth you all are now seeing in the expansion of the magnet choice programs that you all are now seeing, to try to find what some of the best practices are, to try to make this something that can give families some consistency year to year, even as you all tweak some of your, you know, programs and where they're housed and things like that.
Are there other comments?
Well, I guess Rob,
Miss-
can you clarify?
Yeah,
I guess what your
all these
question is?
changes have to do with school choice,
I
and
know.
I agree with that.
But it flowed from me. That's, I'm wondering what your
It doesn't
questions
flow.
were.
I mean, if you look, it says the first paragraph talks about assignment areas. Then we go into B and we talk about a homeschool. Well, really, what you're talking about is assignment area is your home school. It seems to me, as I read it. So that's just a start. I mean, there's plenty of things that we can get into it. I don't really want to take any more time here, but I think as I read through it, I really think we need to separate our school choice program, which is one thing, and then our redistricting plans and what the board directs staff to use when they come up with the school assignment areas. I think that should be separated or somehow expanded upon, because right here, I don't think there's enough here to really do it justice.
Mr. Chair, we'll be looking at, after our last work session, we'll be looking at the actual school assignment policy itself. If you guys remember, we're going to be researching that. And so we can revisit school assignment within that policy. The program choice, we still would like to be as consistent as possible, just because it creates a lot of confusion for parents, staff, and everyone. And this policy moving forward is crucial. If we don't do it before school starts, we end up with a mess. And so we're already researching what you guys asked us to do last week, in hopes that we'll have all of that redone again before our next season for both transfers and our school choice.
Thank you.
Okay, there's only one comment that I really had on the changes here then on that. And that was on C, second sentence, or is it second sentence? So each year the district will consider whether it will offer any program choice programs. Well, obviously we have choice programs. I don't think we're going to eliminate everything. So I don't think the word any is appropriate on that particular sentence. I think that should be reworded somehow, or use modify or something.
I could make a suggestion for that right now. What if whether it will offer each program choice option, so that it takes out of the plural and collection into each option being evaluated?
You're a much better wordsmithing than I am.
Is that okay with you?
I'm okay with that, yes.
Okay. So did you get that, ladies? Okay.
Ms. Stone, are you comfortable with that? Okay.
Each program choice option.
All right, so right now I need a motion. Is there a motion to approve 4150 with the wording change that Ms. Furtenbaugh had? And I understand what Mr. Walter's talking about, but.
I'll approve that.
Okay, so Ms. Carpenter will second that motion with the wording change on section C, program choice, in actually it's still the first sentence, or offer any option.
It's the second sentence where it starts each year.
Each year, the district will consider whether it will
Offer each program choice option.
Each program choice option.
I think program choice programs just was a little bit confusing.
All right. Any more discussion on this particular policy?
No, I'm good.
All right, let's vote. All in favor of 4150 on the first read with the additional wording, each program choice option, or the change in section C, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, say nay. All right, that motion carries 7-0. All right, this carries us to policy 6440 on the first reading, and that is the student wellness. Are there any comments on this? Is there a motion? Oh, yes.
Sue, did you add what you said when I sent that question in?
Yeah.
The changes that you guys have? Well, I just want to know if it's in the copy of the board docs.
Yes, it's on page 4. It
Okay,
should be in
I'm just
the board
scrolling
docs.
down.
Yeah, at the bottom of 4.
And you can see the blue lettering of the end of page 4. I was still concerned about, I was concerned about the, if you will, the absoluteness of saying the 150 minutes of weekly and so on by certified staff. So they just add in where the direction has come from, and that's as suggested by the State Board of Education, that we encourage providing these things, but that's really an unfunded mandate. And so we will certainly do the best we can, and the teachers will do the best they can, but you can't, I don't want to have a clock ticking at school for phys ed, basically, if they're in the middle of doing a math lesson or something.
The only thing that I would ask you that you would probably change is just take the S off of schools in that particular instance, since students is plural, and that's... So is there a motion to approve that with the addition that Ms. Furtenbaugh had recommended?
And taking off the S?
And taking off the S?
And taking off the S, I will move for approval.
All right, is there a second to Ms. Carpenter's motion?
Yeah, I would, I'll second it, and then I would like to ask Ms. Francis for any thoughts on integrating physical education into curriculum. I'm asking you.
I'm sorry, I was distracted.
I was just going to ask for you to offer any comments on how teachers might integrate physical education into curriculum. I know I've heard of yoga and different things in the classrooms, but dancing? I don't know.
Dancing, yeah. Well, there's a lot of, if you make it interactive in a classroom, I will say, it's up to the teacher. Whether they want to. There's a lot of classrooms right now going away from having desks and having the kids moving around. So it's coming around in the classrooms, definitely.
Thank you. All right. So, hearing no more discussion, is there, let's time to vote. All in favor of approving 6140 on the first reading with the change as so noted, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, say nay. That moves us onward. To the renewal of the computer lease, Mr. Stocks is coming forward.
Thank you. We presented last week, and we had a couple of questions. Are there any other questions? We're just bringing the lease back. We have actually updated a price for Apple, and I got a $50 decrease per unit as of about 5:45 today. So we got a deal. And we made a slight verbiage change to the Dell, removing some tax-exempt language.
Okay.
Make a
Board
motion.
members,
Make a motion. Are you going to?
Okay. I was just going to tell you what happened is when I saw the quote, I just Googled to see if we were getting the best price possible. I found a lower price on the Apple website, talked to Michael, he said that's right, they did reduce it in the time since this quote was given. He called the sales guy just before the meeting, and they came back and said they would honor the lower price. So that's a reduction of $15,000. But I have a question before we make the motion to Ms. Klutz. Do you want to add devices to go up to the total, or just let the price of the lease drop? Let the price of the lease drop and keep with 300. Okay.
All right, I had the beginnings of a motion. Do I have the second? Oh,
I don't have a question. I was
he-
going to
he-
second your motion.
Okay,
Oh,
let me make the motion.
actually, Rob made the first motion, so
Oh,
I just
Rob,
need
you
someone
make
to
the
I did not
second.
make the motion yet.
Okay, so can I go ahead and make the motion?
You can go ahead.
Okay. So make the motion that the annual renewal of computer leases be approved as presented, pending an approved budget by the Board of Commissioners, and an updated quote from Apple to show the reduced price of $50 per device.
And I'll second the motion.
And I actually have the updated quote as of about 6:30.
Is that okay? Motion's okay there?
All right, so Mr. Walter seconded that motion. All in favor? Any more discussion? Seeing none, all in favor of approving this particular, these computer leases, say aye. Aye. Opposed, say nay. All right, the leases are approved. 9.6 is the approval of the contract amendment for the Wolf Meadow cell tower. Ms. Klutz is available for questions.
What about the Dell? Is that a separate?
That was all in one motion.
Oh, that was all in one?
Yeah, because it said computer leases,
Oh, okay.
so we did both. Okay. All right, Ms. Klutz is here to answer any questions about the cell tower. Are there any questions?
We were able to make the,
Mr. Walter?
Yeah, I asked last week to see the original lease, and I don't see it up on here on board docs at all.
I handed it to you and you handed it back to me.
Okay, well, I
In the
didn't get a
meeting.
chance to look at it and get some enough detail.
I assumed you were done with it when you handed it back to me.
Yeah, I'm still concerned with the commencement date of being 6 months after we approved it.
It was an option lease, and so there was initially an option in the original contract you all signed, and then a memorandum gets filed basically stating when they actually enacted upon that option, and the lease therefore
Okay,
commenced.
well, I missed that one. I wanted to, that's why I wanted to see the contract to see if that was in there. Because my assumption was they would start paying us once we approved the lease. And that's several $1,000s that we could have been getting.
Okay, is there a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve.
Second.
Any more discussion on the lease? Hearing none, all in favor of approving the cell tower contract as amended, say aye. Aye. Opposed, say nay. Okay. The motion carries 6-1 with Mr. Walter dissenting. Now we go to the Hartzell-Williams legal contract. Board members, I sent a copy of this contract to you this weekend, and Ms. Furtenbaugh asked for one revision to be made to it. And if you'll open the final V2, you will see at the very, near the very end, let's see, what's the commencement date?
Yes, no, it's on the,
Oh, it's at the term, it's at the very top, I'm sorry.
Number 5.
Yep, number 5, term.
Page 1, number 5.
Page 1.5, at the very end is a sentence that was added. It said, at the board's discretion, the contractor may be engaged in transition activities prior to July 1st, 2017. So it's just a,
Just means we can talk to them and start discussing or whatever.
right. So is there any discussion on the Hartzell-Williams contract? Yes, sir.
Is it consistent with our board policy on attorneys? That's my only question.
What do you mean consistent with our board policy?
There was some timing in our policy and when we review, when we approve renewals and that type of thing.
Well, this is a one-year contract that begins on July the 1st, which we have the discretion to start earlier, but that's.
And it does say we will review 60 days prior to expiration.
Right.
So that would be the annual review component.
And also, we do have the time when we've got to get the old in and the new in, so I would say we would be fine.
I did not go back to the board attorney policy to review it and compare this. And I don't think any other board members did that.
I'll
But
make
I
a
don't think we
motion to
should hold this
approve.
contract up, do
No,
I?
I'll make a motion to approve.
All right.
Second.
Mr. Furr makes the motion, Mr. Harrison makes the second. Any discussion on this contract? Hearing none, all in favor of approving the Hartzell-Williams contract as written, say aye. 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 Opposed, say nay. All right, that motion carries 7-0. And now we're to the Schwartz and Shaw contract. Board members, we made some changes to that contract to include the costs. In the cost section, we added the copies at 20 cents a copy, and we also added that bulk copies over 1,000 pages should be sent to the firm's outside copy service whenever feasible and billed at the firm's lowest actual cost with no markup. We also added to the billing format had been already approved with Ms. Klutz, so we didn't do anything with that.
And number 6, the
Number
electronic
6,
format.
Yes. And then in number 6, we asked for an electronic format to, whenever appropriate, to try to reduce paper copies and that type of activity. So are there any other changes? I also tried to send this one out the minute I got it on Friday. So I sent this out to all of y'all in advance, and Ms. Monroe posted it on Board Docs today. So, is there a motion? All right, Mr. Furr makes the motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, Ms. Carpenter seconds it. Is there any more discussion on the contract, Mr. Walter?
Yeah, our board policy says each year the board shall appoint regular legal counsel at its regular meeting in May for the term of 1 year commencing on July 1st or until further ordered by the board. So
we did do that because that's when we voted on.
Right, I just want to make sure if we have a 60-day notice period in a contract, then our May meeting may not be 60 days prior to July 1st.
We may need to change that to 45 days just to meet the policy.
Or modify the policy. So.
Which is it, board members? I got a motion to accept the contract as written. Is there an amendment to the motion?
I would suggest that we change the policy. That might be easier, just change that days.
Okay.
So
Which
Rob, what
policy
does it
is?
say in the May board meeting?
Policy says each year the board shall appoint regular legal counsel, the board attorney, at its regular meeting in May for the term of 1 year commencing on July 1st or until further ordered by the board, whichever comes first.
Well, it also means that we could post haste do it in April like we should be doing, and that would honor the contract
We would meet
too.
both of them.
And we would meet both.
Yeah, and I think the policy just means honor before May, the May meeting.
Right.
Not exactly in May.
Well, it doesn't say honor before, but it does say
It just
May.
says 60 days.
Well, it says the board shall appoint regular legal counsel at its regular meeting in May for the term of 1 year, commencing July 1st.
Yeah.
Right. So as long as we've done that in April, then we've met the spirit of the policy and the contract as well.
Yeah, and we can wait and ask if we need to do that later. I don't think we need to change anything tonight.
Okay.
It's within 10 or 15 days, depending.
All right. Board members, any more discussion on this?
Can I ask just an informational question, not to change at all any of the discussions so far? I know we have already voted on the Hartzell and Williams contract, but the Schwartz and Shaw has item 8, which is the Iran Divestment Act certification. However, the Hartzell and Williams contract does not have a reference to the Iran Divestment Act certification. Is that necessary in the Hartzell and Williams? Should it have been in the Hartzell and Williams?
It probably should. I thought all of them should.
But we'll go back to that later.
Yeah,
I want to stay on the subject of...
technically that's a certification that needs to be in your contracts, but that's something you can obviously add on afterwards. I mean, that's.
Okay.
The list is out there, not on the list, so we don't need them to verify that it's not on the list.
But it should be, of course, in the Schwartz and Shaw contract. That's all I had, Mr.
It's
Chairman.
in the Schwartz and Shaw.
The
It's,
conservative reading of the statute is put in every contract.
Yeah,
I will contact Hartzell and Williams and, oh. Would you mind stepping forward, Andrew? Well, hold up. Let me just finish this vote, and then we'll get you forward. All right, so board members, we've talked about the Schwartz and Shaw contract. Any more discussion on it? Hearing none, all in favor of the Schwartz and Shaw contract, say aye. Aye. Opposed, say nay. All right, that vote carries 7-0. Andrew, if you could come forward, please. A representative from Hartzell and Williams is coming up. We've approved your contract. We didn't actually vote on the Iran divestment addition to it. Would that be a problem, making an amendment to the contract?
If you prefer, we're happy to make that amendment. So if you would like to approve it, including that amendment, and we're happy to put that in, whatever you want to do, if you want us to do it that way.
Thank you. All right, board members, is there a motion to amend the contract for Hartzell and Williams with the additional language for the Iran divestiture?
I would make that motion.
All right, Ms. Carpenter makes the motion to add the language, and David Harrison made the second to add the Iran language, divestiture language. All right. All in favor of this motion, say aye. Aye. Opposed, say nay. All right, so we will.
Can someone send us the reference to where this has to be in a contract like that?
It came from the state
Somebody send that to me, please.
All right.
State Association. They should all contract.
All right, so board members, that carries us to convening into closed session. I will need motions to convene in closed session, that the board convene in closed session pursuant to General Statute 143-318.11A3 to consult with an attorney employed or retained by the public body. Also, pursuant to General Statute 143-318.11A5 to establish or instruct the public body's staff or negotiating agents concerning the position to be taken on behalf of the public or negotiating body. General Statute 143-318.11A6 to consider the qualifications, competence, performance, character, fitness, etc. And also the General Statute 115C, 319 through 321. Is there a motion? I thought I heard Mr. Furr
I will second
and Ms.
that
Carpenter. All in favor of convening in closed session, say aye. Aye. Opposed, say nay. This meeting is in closed session.